This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host. I can't stop this feeling missing on you.
Sounds like any sort of
that was
fashion
like if
show,
you went
Next
to
or Top
when we
Man
were at
you're going
uni.
to.
If you went to Prism/Oceana on any night of the
Never
week,
went.
it was you never went to Prism.
3 years at Sussex, never went.
Wow, God, we had such a different experience.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
Wow,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
never went.
yeah. I went clubbing. Never went to Prism. Yeah,
You went to the Horn.
I was kind of all the time.
Yeah, loved the
Mondays
Horn.
and Saturday nights.
Yeah, and Thursdays as well.
Fat Papa Daddy's on the Monday nights, and then the 80s night on the Saturdays. Not there anymore. The Horn. Oh, it's a different club.
It'll
now,
be
I
a
think.
different thing, yeah. And then, Horton was great. You'd like Arctic Monkeys, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and The
brilliant.
Strokes.
Smiths even.
Yeah,
I mean, like Craig had
and playing. It was like a converted theatre. Playing,
Yes, it was.
we're
It was a
talking about
balcony
this
section.
club in Brighton,
Yeah.
and it had miscellaneous clips from movies, and a lot of people would be like dancing thing,
Yeah.
and I would find myself like
Yeah.
4 double vodka Rebels in, just standing there being like, know what that is, and then
Yeah.
like, oh, what is that? I should check.
You've got the Arctic Monkeys blaring loud, and meanwhile, I'm looking at this Michael Keaton film from the 1980s, being like, "Is this Mr. Mum? I haven't seen this one, but I think I should."
We must have been there on the same night and just not
Totally.
known.
Before we knew each other.
Before we knew each other,
Yeah.
I would have just looked for the other guy just scratching his chin, looking at the screen.
The other tall man eyes me across the.
That blows my mind. You never went to. Sorry, we're talking about nightclubs in Brighton.
Nightclubs in Brighton when
from
we were at
over 10
uni.
years ago now.
No, I didn't because it was the mainstream blockbuster
Yeah.
main one, and
It
I
was
just really
huge.
wasn't interested. I went to.
There were so many rooms though. There was like a cheesy room, and then there was the big clubby room.
Where did I go? Green
God,
Door
to
Store.
not go at all. Not even in first year. Like you were dragged to it.
Nope.
I
wasn't-
understand, like,
guess
not
really,
wanting to
really
go.
not my vibe. Really not my vibe.
Yeah. No, I see that. But it's surprising you never went and were like, "This isn't my vibe."
I just knew. I knew going. I just
Yeah.
knew. Not knew going in. I knew before I went in that it, you know.
Oceana, for people who don't know, is now rebranded as Prism. It is still Prism, right? And it's kind of like a mega club. There's a few. There's like one in Nottingham. There's one in Brighton.
these
I
big
want to say
uni
this.
towns, yeah.
Big uni towns. It's like a multi-room big club. Very at the time was very cheap drinks and cheap entry, and it was kind of like. If you're at uni, it was a big sort of cheesy
The
event
pits.
night. Yeah, you'd see like rugby lads dressed in like tutus, and it
Great.
was just a bit of a horrifying institution.
But I
But
did-
double vodka Red Bull, £3.50. Disgusting drink, but for £3, unheard of.
Man, we can get that now. Probably.
You can't buy the vodka or the Red Bull for either of those now. But yeah, sorry.
Green Door Store.
Yes, it was they renamed it to Coalition.
Coalition was renamed as, and then there was Digital.
Digital. So it went from Coalition to Digital.
No. Coalition was
Just a
and
dumb
then there was
name
another
for a
one that was called
nightclub.
like Audio or like something like that. That was-
Volks. Did you ever go to Volks?
I think that might have been it. That was up on by the thing.
See, yeah.
This podcast is two men trying to remember places you've never been to.
Yeah.
And then there was there was another one that was down somewhere, and I hit.
Down by the sea.
ceiling was so low, I hit my head on a speaker. That really hurt.
Oh, no.
Revenge.
Was it Lola Lowe's?
Yeah, there was. But I never went there.
I went there. It was okay.
Because I come from Reading, where 10 years ago, the only good club was Lola Low.
Yeah.
But it was shit, so we would call it Shlola Low. It was
Right,
terrible.
yeah.
Awful.
My favourite
Why
was-
do you want to? You're in the middle of Reading in February.
Yeah.
Why are you dressing in like a tiki bar? You know, walking around drinking a pina colada.
It's so true. It's all
wake
like
up.
tropical
I
sunshine
really
holidays.
associate it with being,
Sticky floors.
Yes, at 19 and being just, you're out because you think you should be out.
Yeah.
And you're even though you've gone to a club, you're all crammed in the smoking area because you just want to have a chat.
Yeah.
And your entire club experience is, even when you want to dance, is people pushing past you going, sorry mate, excuse me, sorry mate, excuse me.
Monday night haunt
I did
was the
have fun
best.
in my youth, guys. Also, I've had great nights out. Don't get me wrong, loads of fun time. There's pictures of James and I on a night out.
Oh, yeah. What was that place?
Okay, I think you and I went on a night out, a really good night out.
Yeah.
With my. Did you come and see the Richard Nixon play with in the
Gonna say
Brighton?
no.
Great night.
I remember we were there with Andy and
Jack.
Jack.
Yeah, that was one. Sorry.
Yeah,
Friends,
sorry.
BK, friends of the show, if he's listening, hello.
Yeah, hi Jack.
But
What was
yes.
that club called? That was
That-
in like the
that was
alleyway.
Green Door Store.
Green Door Store.
That was Green
it.
Door
Yeah,
Store.
that was a cool spot.
And
You
they
could
did
sit
donuts.
down and have a
They
chat.
did donuts. The night was called
Yes.
Donuts, and they handed out the
Yes.
donut. I think they still do that. That was pretty good. That was a
Yeah.
good night. I had some good nights there.
Lots of reports that night clubbing is dying, George. Lots
It
of young
is.
people don't want to go, and I can kind of totally understand. I think like it is more young people and millennials are paying for like festivals, big event raves that you buy a ticket for a few months in advance to see big acts, but like just plodding around nightclubs. Is dying. Like there's loads of videos of like Soho on a Friday night, Saturday night, Shoreditch, and it's just not, the culture is changing.
Just blowing
I think it's also financial as well.
50 to 100 quid on a night out and then waking up feeling terrible the next day.
And the kind of people that are there as well.
There's this generation which I respect. It's just sort of like, well, I don't want to feel terrible tomorrow. I can
Also,
actually-
like culturally, people getting their drinks spiked and like
Terrible.
sexual, like, all
Terrible,
of that horrible
terrible.
stuff. You just go, well, actually, I could have my friends over to my house and party there in like
Yeah.
a safe space with
Love it,
people
love
we
a house party.
invited. Yeah,
I really like house party. It's a strange thing, but I guess I was ahead of the curve. I was just thought, you
you
know
were like,
what?
hey,
It's, you know what, guys?
get me to the cinema.
Let's just watch a movie. You know,
How about a tea
You
tomorrow?
know what it was? I love staying up. I'm a talker. I'm a socializer.
Yeah.
I like chatting, and I used to hate it when you go to a club and it would just be like, you just.
I
you
like
just
my
couldn't
beep
hear.
boops. I like my
You what, sorry?
my beep boop beeps. The music.
Got it.
Yeah.
But I thought you said something else.
Beep boops.
I thought you went. I like my big boobs.
Beep
I
boobs.
like my big boobs.
That's why I go to the club.
But I just for the record, just to make absolutely clear that people don't think
you're
I'm a
saying-
complete square.
Yeah.
I can get down.
Said by all people who get down.
Welcome to episode 130 of Pulp Kitchen. Thank you for joining us. If you're new or if you're a regular listener, welcome. If you haven't listened to last week's episode 129, where we discussed
Oh God, the best films from the 2010s.
exactly what a roundup that
Nothing
was.
is harder than asking me what we did last week.
Yeah,
Just
I
like
could
the
tell
point
you.
of my
I could
brain.
tell you what we did last year.
Yeah.
but last week it's like, oh yes, that's what we did.
Your
We did-
brain hasn't organised last week yet. It's like
Raw data.
It's raw data that actually needs to be compacted and cached and thing. And it's all sort of out there.
Yeah.
It's like an untidy flat. It's
Yeah.
all sitting on the floor.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
not had the laundry been folded away.
So that was last week. I hope you've had a listen to that. And this week, back on the reviews,
We're doing
we have a not a sequel, a follow-up to a movie from the 2010s, one of
Yeah.
the big movies from the 2010s. We have Furiosa.
All morning, me and George have just gone, Furiosa!
It's a lot of grunge, isn't it? I'd say half the dialogue in Furiosa is
Fight! Right, easy fight! It's not words,
it's just Australian heavy metal grunting,
Yeah.
which I'm here for.
And hey to Australia. First time this week we charted in Australia. How are you guys doing?
Bloody
You'll love this
great
episode.
stuff. I
You'll
love it.
love it.
Yeah, this one, you know what? It's just for you guys.
It's for you.
Just for you guys down under.
I wasn't going to talk about it. We're like, hey, the Aussies are in. Let's
Nothing's-
talk about Furiosa.
Nothing's worse than two English guys just sort of doing it in an
Yeah.
Australian accent.
Yeah.
But thank
Even
you for joining us.
Hemsworth is hamming up the Australian accent in that. He's really
yeah,
good.
yeah, we'll get onto it. But if you haven't seen it, go see it. This is going to be a spoiler-free review, so don't worry. But we'll be talking about that. Got loads of emails to read through. More of the sound game as well. James is in the hot seat this week.
Let's do it.
Again, as you found, I put it together. I'm making the little clips. I'm chuckling to myself, going, I wonder if he'll get this.
There's a pre-fun to be had in making the game, which is just...
It's the perfect kind of fun because there's the pre-fun in preparing it. There's the fun in playing it, and then there's the fun in listening back.
yeah.
That really is.
It really is.
The best kind of fun. Why would you listen to any other podcast? I don't understand.
We just love what we do.
Anyway, so
Let's move on.
let's move on. But before we do that, one point of information before I, interrupt there is had an advert. This is for our UK listeners. Had an advert on BBC Radio 6 this morning that Dope Sick, the fantastic series, is now on BBC iPlayer. It's been on Disney Plus for a long time. But if you don't have a streaming subscription, but you obviously pay for a TV license, you have access to BBC iPlayer, and they have added Dope Sick, which is a really great series about OxyContin that came out a few years ago with Michael Keaton, an ensemble cast, Will Poulter, Caitlin Dever. Fantastic, fantastic show. Go watch that out. Anyway, let's get on with the movies.
Hey guys, this is a quick message brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb.
James, the warmer months,
It's
they're
brighter.
coming. It's
It's
spring,
lighter.
it's summer.
It's great.
Feel it.
Our show literally looks better because the light and the sun is out. You can
can see it in our skin.
Yeah, or happier.
We are happier.
We probably review things more favourably.
On a graph, we review it more favourably in the
Release
summer
your
months.
stuff when the clocks go back, because we'll be better.
Clocks go forward.
Thank you.
But we, as much as we do enjoy the show, James and I do need a break from each other. We are planning holidays away, geographically away from each
far
other.
too much of you.
Necessary. I want to be in a different time zone to James.
Yeah.
But I love booking holidays. You
Yeah,
know,
it's
a
great.
nice, exciting.
Got a nice little trip with the family to Corfu.
Oh.
This summer, very nice. We've actually booked an Airbnb to stay out
Lovely.
in Corfu, and my sister is already very organised as she is. She is hosting her London flat while we're away. She's very
Smart.
good. She's very good.
Okay.
Puts that up very easy. Makes a little bit of extra cash while she's away, and it's just really convenient.
That must be a pretty nice feeling to be on the beach
Yeah.
with a pina colada, knowing that you're getting a little bit of extra cash from hosting your home back home.
Drinks on her.
Lovely.
Yeah. And then I actually looked at what other flats in my area were going for. And I thought, I should definitely look into this. I just think it really makes sense, especially if you're traveling a lot for work, you go on the occasional holiday. It's a really easy step to make a little bit of extra cash that really just makes sense if you haven't done it already.
Yeah, I have heard about hosting before on Airbnb. I've never done it, but all the people that have told me about it are people like me. So I often think, why don't I do it? Well, if you guys are interested in hosting, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host. I did have some good times. I thought you came. One of the best nights I've ever had clubbing was at the Green Door store, but I think you weren't there. It was a bizarre mix of me and my flatmates and Ross, Lucy, Andy, Jack,
Nice.
and a couple of other randos. Great evening.
Really? So, weirdly, Prism wasn't my favourite, but I would go. But where it was, my favourite would be like Horn and the other ones. But where it got really bad, and I look back on this thinking that was a massive health and safety issue. It was a Halloween night at Prism. And when I tell you that main room was so compacted, you wouldn't be able to safely get someone out of the room. It was that bad. And I remember thinking they have completely oversold this night. This is awful. I hated it. And
In
also,
retrospect, we're not trying to be libelous of a health and safety violation.
no, but it was clearly a health and safety violation. And and everything is too cramped and everyone's dressed like death. It just makes it more awful. I'm really not happy. And some guy with a skull mask is like, "Bleh," with the white, the white eye thing. Yeah.
Just talking one last thing before we review Furiosa about Brighton nights out. In my first year, Halloween nights. This is 2013, so Breaking Bad.
Halloween night. Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad had just finished, right? And I had a shaved head at the time, and I went as Walter White in his
I think I've seen a
his
picture of it.
homeware. So I drew a little goatee on. I didn't wear glasses at that point. I had to borrow some fake glasses, and I wore like a green button down tucked into khakis.
Can we get a picture up for the edit? Do you think
I'll
that's
find
doable?
one. If I can find one, we'll put it up in the edit.
Yeah, it'll be on
Have a
the
little
screen.
look.
Turn the video on,
I did a
guys.
sort of semi-drunk selfie anyway in that, and I looked. But anyway, I remember being out at that night at the bar and dressed like a middle-aged man, dressed like a middle-aged chemistry teacher.
Sorry, this is a student night.
And obviously I'm a bit anyway, and I look over, just sort of scan the room, and I cross all the heads and all the wings and all the angels. There's a guy at the other end of the bar dressed in the yellow Breaking Bad suit, and he looks at me and he just gives me the nod.
No hug, no selfie,
just the nod.
You both actually cooked meth once in a past life.
We understood each other. That was a fun evening, that was. Anyway, let's talk about Furiosa. Mad Max Saga. Furiosa, 9 years after Fury Road. And I want
Furiosa or Mad Max.
I know, but I'm saying a Mad Max Saga, which is Furiosa.
Yeah.
But now I have to say, for the
Can
point
we
of being
shave
clear,
your head and cover the top half of your eyes in oil slick? Give you some.
hey, if you want a 2024 movie set in the desert with Anya Taylor-Joy and lots of bald white men, this is the year for you.
that's it.
You've got two movies for you. Let's just with Mad Max. I think it's important to go through a slight history of where we've arrived at, because it's a brand and an IP that people are aware of, but it's its presence in pop culture is kind of interspersed.
Yeah.
So Australian films, all of them directed by George Miller, Australian filmmaker. And the first one actually came out in 1979. And it's kind of this low budget, post-apocalyptic set, leather-clad, full of leather bikers, and it's just called Mad Max, and starring Mel Gibson in the lead role. And pre-fame Mel Gibson. This is Mel Gibson getting lead roles that would eventually lead him onto Hollywood. then you get Mad Max 2, Road Warrior, and then you get, in 1985, the final one, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome with Tina Turner. Now, I've not seen any of them. James?
No, I've seen clips, I've heard references when people talk about movies from the 80s and late 70s.
Yeah.
I've heard them come up and I'm aware of them.
And they're kind of there, and I hear kind of like fairly positive things. I've heard like, I think Road Warrior is meant to be the best one of the three. But then after
Sorry, it was also a period of cinema where like a film like that could come out and it would just be VHS'd into the shelves, and it takes the internet years later to rejuvenate these things. It'd be like, oh, that thing, Mad Max, and now we sort of where we are with it.
And like it's just become also like Mad Max. So 1985 was the last one beyond Thunderdome, and then you have a 30-year break, a 30-year hiatus between that and Fury Road. And you know, in that time, Mad Max kind of has a kind of cultural connection attached to it. Like there's a line in Peep Show where he's like, oh, the future will definitely be like Mad Max, and it's become like, oh, that's a version of the future which is like very dirty, gritty, all based around vehicles and oil and scarcity of resources. That's the whole thing: the scarcity of oil, scarcity of water. In the time between Thunderdome and Fury Road, George Miller goes off and becomes, directs other things. He directs Babe 2, Pig in the City, and directs Happy Feet. And after the success, I know, what a range. Good for him. And after the success of Happy Feet in 2007, he wants to go back to the world of Mad Max with an idea that he's had since the late 80s. But I think he said various things had got in the way. I mean, I think they even started pre-production in the late 90s, but various things got in the way.
I also think it's a phenomenally hard film to pitch and get commissioned as well.
And also you're probably kind of waiting for yourself as a filmmaker to get better and learn new things. And looking at obviously what Fury Road became and what the original Mad Maxes were, it's clear that you kind of needed that 30-year break. Anyway, sure enough, they commission is it a sequel? Is it a reboot? George Miller has been very vague about it. All we know is that they've recast Max as Tom Hardy. He kind of views them all as kind of standalone episodes, almost like a comic book would be. They don't follow along from the other. Actually, yeah. Fury Road happens. That takes years to film. They filmed that in 2012. Doesn't get released to 2015.
Got shut down multiple times.
Very troubled production.
Countries, very troubled.
Hot weather.
Actors feuding.
Massive conflict which has come out in subsequent years between Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron.
Safety issues. Lots of people wondering like how people didn't die and just get shut down. But yeah.
But then a bit like the club in Brighton.
Yeah.
But which brings us to Fury Road in 2015, and then. A huge success. Huge success. I go and
unexpected success.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I went to see it. I enjoyed it, but in the years since Fury Road, I've been bemused by how people have held that film up as one of the best films of this century. It's a good film, and I will just say I saw Furiosa last Tuesday, and I rewatched Mad Max Fury Road on this Saturday.
Nice.
Right. So I've just rewatched Fury Road, and I can say, it's a very, very good film.
Yeah.
Very well executed. I'm still politely
solid on
surprised that it's that it's like, do you not know what I mean? Like people are like,
I think it's very good.
I absolutely
I get why people were excited by it in 2015.
Totally, yeah. But I mean it in a nice way. I'm like, I love that a film like this can be held up in that high. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But anyway, that comes out, and then you get. As anyone who knows Fury Road, will know that Tom Hardy, who plays Mad Max, is in a way not even the main character, really. It really is Charlize Theron's character. She is the one with the main drive, the main, no pun intended, the kind of emotional arc. And Max's inclusion in the story he's literally along for the ride. He's just included. And it's as much Charlize Theron's movie as Furiosa as it is Mad Max.
He's literally strapped to the front of that film,
gritting
his teeth like he is for the poster, like he is for the actual part.
And sure enough, because of her, the massive presence that character had, and what a great character she was, there was talks of a prequel, and we get a prequel. A pandemic and some strikes later, we now get Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, set prior to the events of Fury Road. No Mad Max. This is a Furiosa story starring Anya Taylor-Joy as the young Furiosa and Chris Hemsworth as a new character we haven't met before called Dementus. There we are. It is, again, a reminder for everyone about the world of Mad Max and the world that we have in Furiosa. It is a world in Australia set some decades after the collapse of civilization where every single sort of ecological, economic, social geopolitical crisis has happened.
Also, the most inhabitable
Inhospitable,
place,
yeah.
hospitable place on planet Earth.
The Outback
It's
is already
I
inhospitable.
imagine it's not that far off.
But if you take away water and, scarcity of water, scarcity
Yeah.
of oil, and like with other Mad Max movies, you have lots of vehicles sort of modified and bits of scrap metal. And when I rewatched Fury Road, there's a bit where a guy is wearing a give way sign as a shield. I was just like, yeah, that's Mad Max.
I really love that in this film, like, no matter how wrecked a vehicle is, it's only a tire change and a few squigs of a spanner from being like a total unit, again, just ready to go.
I will say that they may have lost many things in this future wasteland, but they've upped their engineering skills.
Oh, yeah, totally.
They're very, very handy.
And everything, nothing's proprietary. You just bolt that onto there, mate, and you're good to go. Off you go. I found one that fits. And you're off.
The story of Furiosa, we begin, and anyone who has seen Fury Road will kind of know where the direction this is going. But I will say, I saw it with my girlfriend who had never seen Fury Road, had no idea what Mad Max is.
Yeah.
Who is Max? Why is he so mad?
Yeah.
What is going on? I just basically said Wasteland. And going into it, it's important to say that I do think that even if you haven't seen Fury Road, you can watch Furiosa and enjoy it as Anna did, because she really liked it. We begin with Furiosa as a child in the green place, a place of abundance that despite being in this inhospitable outback, you have lush trees and fruit. However, in the opening minutes of the film, she is taken, snatched by raiders, and driven out into the desert to Dementis' camp, Dementis played by Chris Hemsworth, and with her mother in pursuit. And so begins the kind of epic, the saga of Furiosa that we know will eventually lead to Mad Max Fury Road. It's 2 hours 20. Again, directed by George Miller. And what I love, I will just say before I hand over to you, James, is that usually when you have a franchise of this length, or that has existed over a 40-year period, at some point it gets handed to another director.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that when they brought Fury Road back in 2015, that wasn't a new director
He's
doing
like, no,
it.
still me.
George Miller's like, no, I'm still going to do it. I'm 70 years old. And now George Miller's 79 doing the sequel. And good for him, frankly. Good for him. So, James, Mad Max Furiosa.
Furiosa. I had a really vivid memory of watching Fury Road in the cinema, strangely, because I wasn't late, but I remember I sat down just as like the Warner Brothers logo is spinning in.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So like I've literally, as I'm like literally getting into my seat, the film rolls, and I have this really distinct memory of the film just getting straight into it.
Yes.
And it's like running through, Mad Max is captured, and you go kinetic boom. And I remember just thinking like, are you ready? Because here we go, let's go. And that actually added to me, because I didn't have 20 minutes of ads to like get my jacket off. It was like, here we go. And it was like kinetic, bombastic, fun. It was action, but shot in a way that we really hadn't seen before. It was a lovely antithesis to like other comic book films at the time. Masterpiece of visual storytelling. As with this film, you could strip the dialogue, and I think you'd understand basically 90% of everything that's happening in that scene. You sort of got, on one hand, you've got Aaron Sorkin films, which are using dialogue layered between years and scenes folding, whereas I think this is like the antithesis of that, which is action and movement and gear changes and exhaust, which take it through.
Which in many ways some people would describe as pure cinema.
Yes.
Because it goes back to the original cinema, which is silent cinema.
Visual. And I'm pleased to say, if you loved Fury Road and everything about that you thought was great, I'm pleased to say that I think Furiosa you're in for a treat. It's got more of that. It's bigger, it's louder, it's longer, it's better at giving context to that world. So if you love Fury Road, I can just go fantastic. Go enjoy Furiosa. Yeah. It's very different structurally. Like with Fury Road, it feels like it takes place in real time. I think it's like 2 days in Fury Road, but you really feel like you've just experienced this whole thing go through. Whereas this one is totally different. It's an odyssey. It's a saga that takes place over 10, 15 years. So that I really noticed the difference in that. You've got this great rivalry spanning generations between Dementis and Furiosa, and that is sort of the core of how this film plays out. So it does feel very different. I love how much fun Hemsworth is having in this role. He's doing a little bit of the drunken Thor thing, but with more character, more color,
more nastiness.
He's like this brutish, violent bandit that's also like an absorbent sponge. Like he wants to learn like what is the Citadel and who are you? And I want to learn this word. And he like wants to be sort of like complex and smart and erudite. And he's got this wonderful character who's like 100 years old, who's someone who knows about the world, and he writes the truth and the history literally on his skin. I think that's really fun. If you're a fan of Fury Road, I love the context it gives to the political landscape of this wasteland between Bullet Town and the Citadel and Gas Town, the vying for resources. You give me milk and food, and I'll give you petrol and gas and people. I think that's really, really fun. The world is just awful
Yeah.
and gone. It's a civilization that is really gone. What I like about these two Mad Max films is that there is loads of really clear implied darkness. Like if you look into the what's his name, the Immortan Joe, like what his character represents and the women he keeps aside, there's loads of really implied darkness there, but it often is always towing this line of like keeping really fun.
Yeah.
And like you could think like that's a really dark thought, like all of this happening, and obviously there's violence and there's slavery, but it's always hovering this line of being playful.
Yeah, it's got.
I think it's quite hard to do that.
I actually think it's got a slight campiness to it. There's
Yeah.
a slight campiness, and in its sort of, even though it's slightly grotesque,
Yeah.
there's a slight camp carnivalesqueness to it, which makes it. Yeah,
it's like super
fun.
disgusting, but like weirdly palatable.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually really well placed for
Like
this.
Scrotus and Erectus. No, Scrotus and Rectus or whatever. The two, it's like that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
horrible,
The names are
repulsive,
horrible.
but also kind of silly.
All these things like just like milk and
Yeah.
just all these gross things with steel. Finally, I think Anya Taylor-Joy is great. She's got these wonderful big bug-like eyes that don't need words to describe what she's doing. I actually thought the girl, who I think it's Alila Brown, who plays the younger version of Furiosa, is also really great. And we don't actually get Anya Taylor-Joy for close to an hour into this film.
Yeah, and I think it's on that point just worth saying that as in the same way that Fury Road was as much Charlize Theron's movie as it was Tom Hardy's, this is basically almost as much Chris Hemsworth's movie, as particularly in the first half, as it is Anya Taylor-Joy's.
And I think that's partly because the structure was similar to the last one, but also Chris Hemsworth is probably what they're using to sell the movie.
Yeah.
I think Anya Taylor-Joy is going to get there, but she probably doesn't have as much recognition.
She hasn't
as
been an Avenger.
Thor: The God of Thunder.
Yeah.
Like on the front of your movie doing that, even though he's got a big schnoz. But we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
And yeah, just in terms of what you love, the fight scenes, the car combat, the choreography, the camera work, it's just breathtaking. There are numerous, multiple insane sequences where I saw this in IMAX. So glad I did. Where I was just like, oh my god, fantastic. The way the camera will often go from the seat back out and through, and you see the wide eyes. It's just brilliant. Sound design, brilliant.
Yeah.
All in all, great fun. My minor gripe with this film is in the pacing. Right?
Really?
Like, yeah, totally. I've really
I think
sort
it
of.
absolutely ripped.
It did, but I
2 hours 20 went by like that.
that's so interesting. I felt the 2.5 hours.
Huh.
Totally. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Yeah, I totally felt the 2.5 hours. So it goes immediately, and I love the way it starts, and I think it just really grips you and goes. And there are multiple brilliant scenes within that where I'm going, this is brilliant. But the chaptering of this film, I actually find takes away more than it gives. Towards the end, when the chapters came up, I did actually check my watch and I went, I'm having fun, but I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of done. No, not so. I was like, I think I'm kind of done here. And it's not to say that I didn't have a good time, but when the film finished, I went, you know what, that was brilliant and breathtaking. I'm just going to close that book, put it away. Very happy to not watch it again, at least for 5 years. And I just, it was another, here we go again, another objective, another sequence, another place to go. Within that, though, all brilliant, but I wearied, I tired. It was intense.
Okay, well, I didn't have the kind of weariness. I thought it rips along the way through. And actually, the way I describe this is, you really do get a full, complete meal with this film. It really does. Like, you are not undersold. It's called a saga, and it's like, we will give you a properly deep, emotionally journeyed saga for you. A life in this in 5 episodes. I can see that. I can see where some people, might feel it. Like, personally, for me, I thought it ripped. Just on the beginning, I thought.
When you say rich, do you mean like the pace all the way through?
All the way through. Yeah. You know, in a similar way to Fury Road, but even though it's narratively completely different.
Yeah.
I will say that given how strange and peculiar the world of Mad Max is, and how as audiences we're not that familiar with this world, what I love about the opening is that what a great way of grounding you in an unfamiliar territory by using well-executed drama, well-visualized action. The opening, I'd say it's like a 20-minute prologue, maybe 25-minute. It just immediately grabs you with like, these are the stakes. This is what's happened. It's pure action. Something has been taken. There's a chase.
Violence and beauty contrast.
Absolutely. You're in this scape, and it's immediately telling you through imagery all you need to know about all these different characters. And dialogue is used really as only tent poles throughout a scene to support certain ideas. I thought that was great. I just thought, here we are. It's been 9 years since a film that was 30 years after an IP that we're not that familiar with. I'm immediately gripped. I'm immediately back in this world.
Yeah.
I just think that was excellent. And like you said, there are sequences. There's a central sequence to do with the war rig, which I just was just like, yeah, this is what you want from this kind of movie. This is what these movies deliver. It's still here. If you liked Fury Road, like you said, you'll get this. With Chris Hemsworth, I think it's brilliant. I think this is an absolute gift for him. I think it's exactly what his career needed right now. I think he's been. He's good as Thor, but I think he's been laboured by poor Thor films.
You're betting on that,
And I think that his talents have often been misplaced, like in the Ghostbusters reboot. But what I love, I think that
he's funny as well.
He's funny, but putting a giant schnoz on him and making him unrecognisable, I think is actually a genius move, because it's not about making him look like a certain character. It's making him not look like Chris Hemsworth. It's freeing him from being Chris Hemsworth, the person. It's like, you can be someone else now, Chris. You can disappear into the role. And it's like when you and I went to a screening of a TV show a few months ago with Sofia Vergara in it called Griselda. And Sofia Vergara was there from Modern Family. And she's prostheticized in that TV show. And she was like, the prosthetics weren't to make me look like this real life person. It was to stop audiences seeing the character I played on Modern Family. And that's what I like about this. It's like, this is stopping us seeing Thor, and it's allowing you to do something else. And I think that's great. And I think, his career right now, this role perfectly channels his comedic talents, but his dramatic chops as well. And I really enjoyed him in this. I thought, good for you, Chris. I second everything you say about Anya Taylor-Joy. And again, the film has this brilliant blend of excess and minimalism, maximalism and minimalism, and visually, it's excessive in it's oily, it's sticky, it's grungy, it's dirty. There's male-dominated, funny, silly, horrible men. It's loud, it's in your face, but on the balance side of it is that it's actually incredibly lean. I thought well-paced, taut, and in terms of the scripting, very precise. So that's why it works. It's not excess all over. It's actually quite strategic. And with all these things, when something looks a certain way or looks to be as effortless, it's actually because there's great effort going on behind the scenes. So I think that's the key balance. And the same way that Fury Road works, because it's not just a wild chase. It's not just excessive noise. It's actually incredibly deliberately plotted to make you run through the desert on this course. So I really enjoyed it. I really did. I enjoyed it just as much as Fury Road. I do like Fury Road very much. I do really think that's a good movie, and I do see the absolute brilliance in there. I like the fact that this is giving you a story. I like the fact this is giving you sort of emotional depth. Anna, having seen Furiosa and not seen the others, and then watched Fury Road, she liked Fury Road more because she liked Fury Road more than she would have done having seen it blind, because Furiosa filled in a lot of the blanks.
Oh, fine.
But she still preferred Furiosa because she liked that journey in it. And I think Tom Burke in this is great as well. And I love the dynamic between Anya Taylor-Joy and Tom Burke. They stop short of insisting a romantic narrative between these characters. Well, a lot of movies would have done, but I'm like, no, they have a relation. They have a connection and a friendship and a level of trust, and that's all it needs. Yeah, because trust is so vital to Furiosa as a character. She's not been able to trust anyone, but with Tom Burke's character, it's really important. And I just like that their relationship.
In a world where you can't trust anyone, they are able to, like, I can hand you a gun.
It's not just water and oil that's the scarcity. Yeah. It's trust.
And there's
well.
that brilliant sequence in Bullet, kind of like a heist sequence in Bullet Town with the excavator and the thing. And these aren't real places, but the choreography and the execution of action within vehicles and spaces all taking place. It just you have to marvel at the choreography of it. It really is exceptional.
So on the whole, I thought pretty good. You thought same, but maybe just held up by the
pacing. I still think it's brilliant. I was worried by it, gripe with the pacing. I think I do put Fury Road above it, but I'm splitting hairs. I'd take either. I think it really is impressive, fantastic action. It really feels like a breath of fresh air, considering we get a lot of action in the cinema. This feels new. This feels exciting.
Absolutely. I would happily have George Miller give us one of these every 5-10 years.
I do feel like it shows me something I haven't yet seen before, which I think is just great when we talk about films all feeling the same.
And I was checking the news this morning, and it has had a disappointing opening in the box office, which makes me sad, because I'm like, this is a really well crafted, well made
really good
movie that delivers action and delivers heart and delivers spectacle. which is the same. I still think you should go see it.
Oh, just before you read correspondence, I've not seen Fury Road in sort of 6-7+ years, but I felt like the use of CG in Fury Road was a lot less.
Okay. Right. No, it's not that...
and it was sort of extending, and here I felt like we're in a green screen here.
Okay, that's really interesting you said that.
Because it praised for its practical effects, which I still think this film has. But
so one thing is that, obviously, I rewatched Fury Road on TV.
Yeah.
So it's harder to see those things.
Yeah. That's fine, we're fine. Yeah. No, as you are.
I don't know whether there's less CGI in Fury Road, but what I will say is seeing this on a big IMAX screen, I actually did notice that there was quite a few bits of dodgy peripheral CGI where like characters would be in the background sort of shakily walking like that. And thinking, I did notice
bodies falling in awkward ways.
And I know what you mean where like someone's on a motorbike and you're like, that's a green screen behind them. But I kind of thought it was embracing it. For me, that was part of like the whole camp kind of
because this one is the scale I think is bigger, even though the setting is the same. I feel like it's shot wider. It wanted to show you more, and with that, because these places don't exist, comes at the cost of like needing to fill in more digitally. Whereas with Fury Road, obviously, like you shoot in they're there in the Citadel, but I always felt more practical and tactile. And here we were extending more, and I did feel that.
And you don't see Gastown. You don't see the Bullet Farm in Fury Road.
No, not at all. It's just referred to.
So it's all basically a road in a desert.
Yeah. Oh, Gastown, by the way, the shot of it is a literal crater with a pool of black oil.
Isn't it?
It's a moat, and they just built a steampunk city on top of this massive puddle of oil.
And that's also what I love. I just love this world. I like the fact, we have a lot of clean-cut, chiseled IP rocking around in movies, and this is just heavy metal. It's a strange world.
Yeah,
it's slightly disgusting,
chains
grotesque,
from the nipple to the nose,
bizarre. It's like it's a warts and all. People also like, and it has violence in it in like just the right proportion. So this does have a movie in which people's heads get shot and people's arms get blown off, but it's always fleeting as well. So it's not excessive in its violence, but it's also, I think it's a 15. It's like
it's 15.
It doesn't feel sanitized. It's like, there's a bit of blood there.
Again, it's on this really tight line of being grotesque and dark, but also playful fun. Yeah.
We have some correspondence from Mad Max. Of course you did. Bevan got in right away with some correspondence about Mad Max Furiosa.
Writes into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com, just like you can.
Furiosa Mad Max Saga. Bevan says, hello. Hope all is good with you. He's been loving all the content lately as per. Just wanted to share my thoughts on Furiosa. I went to a premiere of this, and if I'm honest, I was a bit apprehensive beforehand, as Fury Road is very well done, combining practical effects and CGI effects. And I was worried that I was afraid this film would not hold up. Without getting into the plot, just the look of this film was disappointing. Right at the beginning, we see a character get onto a horse, and I nearly laughed out loud at the poor quality of the CGI. It looked like a video game from 2007. Okay. I found the performances from Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy to be good, nothing groundbreaking. The length of this film is also insane, standing at nearly 2.5 hours, and it feels it, especially with the time cards marking the chapters, make it feel even longer. All in all, I found this to be a disappointing prequel, giving it a 2.5 star on Letterboxd.
Just on that, I agree with like points, but I don't think it's a disappointing film. Like I also ahead of this thought I wouldn't guess it would have been good. I thought the hype and the anticipation of a follow up to Fury Road is really high. I don't really lie awake at night thinking about the Mad Max films, and a Furiosa prequel. Although I think this film totally delivers, I think it's great. I could have taken it or leaving it. Yeah, I don't really wonder about how Furiosa became Furiosa, but I'm glad this film existed. As your point on chaptering and length, I do feel that. I did feel it.
Thanks, Bevan. I agree. When we saw that it was coming out this year, and it was 9 years. Always a belated sequel I'm always nervous about. I'm like, 9 years later, a bit of an afterthought. But no, it's because they took time to make it properly.
It looks like it takes a long time to make. Shot in where it's set, which is not a fun place to exist. No. Real war. I want to know how they build these cars and things flying over them. I just think that's just one of those shots would take a month. I don't know how, of course they're professionals, but I just think that what an undertaking. And the fact that those fight scenes are so expertly choreographed.
So the budget was $168 million,
which is actually not crazy high.
I think that is quite high. That's expensive.
It looks more expensive. I guess it doesn't have too many talent attached.
I'm just going to see what the budget for Fury Road was, obviously adjusted for inflation in 2015. The budget for that was similar, actually, basically the same. That was Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Still a thumbs up. Still go see it. Let us know your thoughts.
Big screen as well. Don't wait.
Biggest.
You could say this almost every week, but you'll definitely lose something for this film watching it on a laptop or on your TV at home.
Even when I rewatched Fury Road at the weekend, I was like, I realized the reason I haven't rewatched this since seeing it is because I've always wanted to rewatch it on the big screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to feel the growls of the engines.
We
in
talked
your
about
chest.
cinema is only big blockbuster action and comic book films, and we've said this many times. It's actually the market is adjusting to give you a reason to go to the cinema, and this is such a great example of yes, it's a big action blockbuster film, but it's a proper reason to go. This is why the movies are changing. Go and see it on the bigger screen. That's trying to entice you there.
So again, send in your thoughts if you'd like to let us know about it to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. That was
Furiosa.
great names. Immortan Joe. What's an Immortan?
It's always like anger. It's like Mad Max, Furious, Furiosa.
Yes, but also then like skunks
Scrotus.
and
Yeah.
snucks and
Erectus.
I'm Dementus.
Yeah, Demented. Isn't he Dr. Dementus?
No, he's the great Dementus, the evil the dark Dementus.
He's anything. He was just self-qualified.
He's the great, whatever. Anyway, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga.
There's one moment where I think when they first go are they in the Citadel and he's got Furiosa in a cage and they're like, who is she? She looks pale. And Chris Evans goes, no, you look pale. She's fine. Nothing wrong with her. And I saw this interview where he said for The Voice, which is this kind of Aussie, he looked at people who do commentating on races and that scene going down the line, and auctioners, and,
of course,
and that's where he was getting the inspiration, calling the shots and the betting, the gambling, the impulsiveness of it.
The lady and gentlemen's with his chariot of motorbikes.
Yeah. Do you have what it takes to make it epic? That's my Dementus impression.
Let's read out some emails from our sirens this week, James. Your musings. I was going to say your musings. The musings, the bruisings, the grumblings, the mumblings. Help me out.
It's questions, concerns, thoughts.
Right. Sorry. We all know what happens now. It's emails, questions, reviews, thoughts on films. This email is from friend of the show, Adam, who is the only person to write in about The Fall Guy, which we reviewed a couple of weeks ago now. Fall Guy,
Come and gone a bit.
is being talked about as basically the first sad surprise flop of 20. I mean, it's not the first flop of 2024.
Cinema having a rough 2024.
It's having a rough May. It's having a rough May because I think they're saying the box office is missing some of the Marvel has pulled back some of its films, so the box office is not raking in as much as it used to in this time period, and the strikes obviously push some things back as well. Planet of the Apes has done okay. The Fall Guy I think the problem they said with The Fall Guy is that huge budget, just way too big budget, 160 mil for that kind of movie.
Expensive as well.
Expensive, and they really did pummel the marketing on that. And what didn't help, very, very short theatrical release window before it became available to rent on video on demand.
Is it already?
It's already available on some platforms. I mean, I've
We've
done
said
that
it
just suicide.
so many times. Create a demand to see it in the cinema.
Absolutely.
Be like, listen, you won't get to see this for 3 to 4 months if you don't see it now.
And do you know what's sad is that, Anna wanted to see The Fall Guy, but then we were talking about it, and she said, what's it actually about? And I said, can you tell me what it's about? And she said, the guy, there's drugs or something. And I said, then this is the problem.
Literally nothing.
You can't tell me what the film's about. You know it's brightly coloured. It's got Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. But could you tell me what the film's about, James?
Well, I know.
Because I reviewed it in front of you. Yeah, sorry.
I do a film podcast.
Anyways, Adam writes in about The Fall Guy, which is not a bad film, by the way. The Fall Guy is not a bad film. It's perfectly fine. Yeah. Adam writes in about The Fall Guy and says, the trailers had me absolutely sold on The Fall Guy. And the PR, as you guys have said, around it has been incredible. Ryan Gosling is a real star at the moment, and I'm loving everything he does. Throw in Emily Blunt, a meta filmmaking plot, action and comedy. This couldn't have been further up my street if it tried. Unfortunately, I left feeling fairly disappointed. It was solid and had some fun jokes, but it meandered for 2/3 of the runtime, and the mystery side of the plot felt simultaneously messy and vague. Somehow the chemistry between Gosling and Blunt felt more exciting, worthwhile, and entertaining than the stunts. In a film all about stunts, it had promise and certainly had heart, but it didn't stick the landing, which is, I agree with that, Adam.
It's almost like, I think you said this, you didn't feel like it was funny enough. And
No.
you almost want it to go bigger.
It
Like
needs to
you
be-
know, like The Other Guys, which is just
Yes.
just dense with jokes, and you don't notice 70% of them the first time you watch it.
Because in the trailer they're selling, oh, look at all these cool stunts, but a lot of those stunts are in the fake movie. And I think as an audience member, you
therefore-
don't enjoy stunts from a fake movie because you've got nothing to connect to it. There's
regardless
no
of
stakes.
if they actually pulled them off on the day.
So there's a big sequence in which Ryan Gosling has to do a car roll quite early on the set of this fake movie.
Yeah.
And it's like cool to look at, but there's no sense. It's not actually that interesting because this fake movie is silly.
Do you mind just closing the window because they're using the power tools outside? Yeah, I've still not seen it, but I will check it out. But I've not got a sense of urgency to do so.
You sound very uncertain.
Well, because
I mean, as you said I'll see it, but then I think you even questioned that.
no, I'll see it. I'm not.
gonna watch on a plane,
I'm
like I
not.
said, aren't you?
It's going to be a plane watch. Is it a good plane film?
It's great. I said that in my
Yeah.
review. Great plane
Yeah.
movie. I mean, but better than
Some planes
most
coming
plane
up.
movies are plain in flavour and plain in environment. But this
Like
is
food.
exactly. But this is a good great plane movie.
Do you like plain food, by the way?
Who likes plain
Do you know
food?
what? I
I'll
speak
eat
to
it.
people that love it.
I don't
blows my
love it,
mind.
but I will eat it.
Yeah,
Anna hates it.
I hate it.
Well, I mean, I accept the fact that it's put in a tiny little oven at the back and it's preheated and it's processed. But sometimes you've got to eat, and it's much better than it was. It's much better than it was.
It is better than it was.
I don't touch the bread in the packet. I don't touch the.
actually-
so
that makes
I really
me
just
ill.
basically have
The
the
worst
hot
is
food.
breakfast. The spongy egg with the like slimy
don't touch
mushroom.
It. Don't touch that.
Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to know where you were on that.
Should we have an email, please?
Next up is from Marcus, who writes in subject Gyllenhaal. Hello, long-time listener, first-time emailer. I just had to email in that Gyllenhaal is doing a limited legal thriller Apple TV series coming this June, just as George said. Does George have a future in agency for struggling actors looking to revive their career? Marcus from Norway.
So when we did the Best Actors Who Never Won an Oscar, we went on this talk about Gyllenhaal. We said what he should really do is do a TV series
Like a
which plays a
legal
doctor
thriller.
or a lawyer or a legal thriller, and just as turns out
Let's manifest more.
that's exactly what he's doing. It's coming out next month.
Yeah.
We'll check it out. Thanks, Marcus. This next email is from Laurie. Laurie, who writes and says, Dear James and George and James. This is from Laurie and Will. Now, Laurie and Will, if you remember, wrote in about they had their own personal film club between the two of them. And they
Yes.
asked us to recommend them a film to watch. And the film we suggested, this is around about the time we did Back to Black. The film I suggested was Love and Mercy, the Brian Wilson music biopic, which I said was different to other musical biopics and it's actually about a
All
specific
film
thing.
societies, please, we will happily sort of write you we'll happily recommend your film suite for the upcoming weeks. Let us know.
Laurie writes in and says, thank you for the reply and the film recommendations from your last email. Will felt like Leo in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme when he unexpectedly heard his email read out. Hey, we have since both watched your recommendation, Love and Mercy, and had very similar takes. Compared to the often studio sanitized and conservative, with both a capital and non-capital C, genre of the musical biopic that too often flattens any of its protagonists' rough or complex edges, to instead pander to their iconography or prioritize their greatest hit soundtrack, Love and Mercy was far more interesting and well made. The director clearly had a vision, and as a result, the film played like an experimental concept album rather than a messy compilation. I like that. Paul Damon's performance was sublime, as it always is. Our only misgiving was that while the intercutting timelines worked formally, in that it mirrored Brian Wilson's troubled mental state, it thematically sometimes didn't work very well narratively. Anyway, overall, it was a great film, and thank you for introducing it to us. Here's a question for you guys, though. Will and I recently watched 3 films set in the medieval period. The King, an insult to Shakespeare. I think it's a bit harsh. That was quite a good film. Okay. The Last Duel, interesting but problematic in its attempts to critique but also use the male gaze. And The Green Knight, incredible. Green Knight, never saw that. That's the Dev Patel film.
No.
It's kind of a COVID era. Went on to Amazon Prime. Do you guys have a favourite or least favourite historical period that you would like to see recreated in film?
Interesting least favourite historical period.
Sorry for the long email. Laurie and Will. P.S. Will wanted me to get in early for your best noughties films debate with a shout out to Park Chan-wook's Old Boy. Well, whenever we do that episode, we'll give that a shout out. But yes, James, favourite or least favourite historical period on film?
I've always found when they try to go back to like the year 0 or BC, it's never really going to work.
Can't relate
Outside
to that.
of the like biblical epics that are sort of,
yes, you
pillars
need a
of
bit
cinema.
You need civilization.
I think so. And it ends up being a lot of, well, what if it was 10,000 BC, but there were, you know what I mean? That's usually where I find, not interested.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, this isn't a period of time, but I do kind of nod off with any sort of Jane Austen era stuff.
Yeah,
I quite like the Brontes.
Wasn't written for us.
Like the Jane Eyres and the Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights got a bit more darkness to it, but on the whole, when I see bonnets, I do switch off.
Walking slowly along a green meadow.
And
Would
have
it
you
be?
heard- yes.
I will
Perhaps
take your hand.
I could maybe. And I
Yeah.
thought no. Perhaps we
Yeah.
could. I'm like,
quite
where's the war? Give me World War II.
Most of the 20th century, I'd say, is always just
great.
throw a dart in the 20th.
I do
You're good.
like things set in the 60s when it's all about the style, isn't it?
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
You know the
50s, 60s Americana, always rife
Great.
for drama.
But when it goes back 19th century, 17th century, they're all dressed in funny. Oh, have they got guns yet? No, they got
I guess
swords.
Henry VIII is fun.
Yeah.
Beheadings in church.
You know what it is? It's how you use it. It's how you use the historical period. But really,
good and bad.
I'm a 20th century.
World War II, always in.
Yeah, great.
Always in.
For that.
Cold War, great. Bring
you.
Bond back to the Cold War, that's what I say.
Thank you, Laurie and Will.
Rosie writes in to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com just like you can and says, hello chaps. I had started watching Ripley a little while ago, but
yes.
stopped as I found the black and white rather distracting. It gave me the impression that the series was style over substance. That's what I thought before I watched it.
Same.
However, after listening to your review, which you can check out, I decided to give it another go, and I am thrilled that I did. Once the narrative arrived at Ripley's murderous endeavours, I felt that the black and white was not just a stylistic choice, but also a somewhat practical one. Given that the image of blood running down Jude Law's face is one that really imprints on the brain in the film, The Talented Mr. Ripley, I was curious at how the series would execute the same scene. I would say it took a more brutal approach. Whilst the film is concerned with Ripley's immediate emotional consequences, the series focuses on the practical. Indeed, what immediately follows in the series is a precise and intentionally exhausting depiction of how logistically challenging it is to dispose of a dead body. Multiple times in
Yeah.
that series, it really is.
And how clumsy and awkward and horrible
Oh,
it is.
just getting
Shocker, murder,
downstairs thing. Where are you going to take it? Similarly, the amount of blood lost by is really rather grisly and would have been more difficult to watch had it been in colour. The tone of the series is cold and austere, so perhaps copious amounts of bright red blood would have been too gruesome and, dare I say, Tarantino-esque. Although, ironically, Tarantino did turn to black and white for the bloodiest scene in Kill Bill. Essentially, I think the black and white allows the shocking scenes to be shocking without sacrificing Ripley's level-headed tone. New friend of the podcast and friend of Dan Sims. Hi, Dan. I hope your wedding day was as fun and joyful as you are. Rosie from Huntington.
Yes, hello to friend of the show, Dan Sims, who's getting married this weekend. I'm going to the wedding.
And friend pre-show.
Friend from pre-show, friend of... Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's also your friend.
He's actually a friend of mine. But I wanted to acknowledge the fact that he has clearly listened to the show and recommended it to
That's
his
great,
friend.
Dan, doing God's work.
Congratulations on your wedding day. And thank you for that email, Rosie.
Yeah, totally with Ripley. The awkwardness and the clunkiness of it is part of what fascinated me. And what's something that would otherwise cinematically be so mundane. I could stop watching it. I could not stop watching it.
As we've said many times, one of the best things we've watched this year. Please go and watch it if you
Ripley,
haven't
fantastic.
already. This next email is from Amy, who writes in about Fallout. Fallout, which we reviewed a couple of weeks ago, the TV series based on the game. Amy says, hello, James and George. Thank you for your review of Fallout recently. Hearing a show that had similarities to The Last of Us led me to watching it. Without knowing this, I wouldn't have tried it. See that, James? We converted someone to watching it.
Converting. Should we start a religion?
Cult?
It's such a rush when someone comes in.
The score and the 1960s older soundtrack is amazing. It's hilarious, and I feel like I'm playing a video game when I'm watching it, going from character to character and plotting their journeys. That's interesting that you see that as a positive, and that's a good thing, because some people would always say that's a criticism.
I was thinking, do you want that from a show adaptation from a video game, or do you want it? What is the purpose? Are you trying to evoke the feelings that the video game
I think
gave?
if it's a multi-narrative exploration of a wide map, you remember the whole point about Fallout is you're exploring. So if you follow multiple characters, you're able to get that
same
sense of
wonder.
exploration. A question for you both: Are there any? Are there other nuclear war, pandemic, end of the world movies and shows like Fallout and The Last of Us that I might have missed? I read Station 11, which has turned into a series, and I loved it. I'm fascinated by human stories of survival in extreme sci-fi circumstances, I guess. Hope you're having a lovely week. Amy from Sydney.
I was thinking of the Little Britain. I'm looking for a nuclear Fallout TV show for ages 4 to 10.
Margaret, do we have any nuclear Fallout films?
They used to be directed by Robert Eggers with the score released in between 1997 and 2001.
We've got between ages of 15 and 30. It really
Really
must be between ages 10 and 14. Oh, very good. Not a sketch I found funny when I was a kid, but now I'm older. Because I've been in shops like that, and you totally... Yeah, so anyway.
Dusty board game shops.
Yeah.
Cormac McCarthy's The Road with Viggo Mortensen is really good. Very depressing, very dour, but brilliant. The novel's also great.
Children of Men. I mentioned in the Last of Us review. The Last of Us owes, in a positive way, draws a lot of from the Children of Men, the movie. Please go watch that. I think that'll do for your recommendations this week, maybe.
Andrea writes in, says, Dear James and George, Andrea from Amsterdam, brackets originally from Italy, moved for work. Follower, not really since the beginning, but since episode 10/15, more or less.
Hey, we'll take it. That's a
very
good follower. That's a lot. That's a disciple.
Early. Yeah.
Hey, come. Join us.
Like upside down with the finger.
Oh, with these Sistine
That
Chapel.
one. Yeah. Clouds covering up. Recently, I had a movie night with my girlfriend, rainy night, and we wanted a comfort movie, guilty pleasure type. A new movie was just released. Anne Hathaway was in it, and we decided to go for it.
Right.
The Idea Review.
Yes, I've seen
on
it
Prime Video.
advertised.
Right. Now, I don't know if you've seen it. We haven't. But you should definitely try it as a cinematic experiment to But you should definitely try it as a cinematic experiment to experience what extent poor screenplay can do. I think can do is what you mean. Impossible to watch, all caps. You guys recently had a discussion about what if we were Jake Gyllenhaal's agent, and this made me think, all caps, what on earth was Anne Hathaway's agent thinking when they signed for this movie? Really speechless. To be honest, while I was discussing with my girlfriend the total amazement about this totally unacceptable movie by Anne Hathaway, we looked up her filmography to refresh our memories, and we realised that this actually should not have amazed us that much. I missed the transition of her, but after the peak of Nolan's Dark Knight Rises and Interstellar, she went free-falling to the very bottom of the worst movies bucket with nothing else left to scratch. Curious to hear your comments. Many, many thanks for the excellent entertainment you always provide. Warm congratulations, Andrea. So I've heard of this film.
Yes.
I've seen the trailer, which I think gives away the entire film, and I've seen clips, and it doesn't look great. From what I understand, it's basically like a Harry Styles fan fiction.
Yeah.
What if he spotted me in a crowd and fell in love with me, even though I'm a bit older than him?
So, I agree. Same things I've seen have been sort of like, Look, I like Anne Hathaway as an actress.
I just want to say, like, Mother's Instinct from a few weeks ago, very solid.
Right.
I think she's very competent in that.
Let's just go back about her films. You're right. So let's peak Anne Hathaway, early 2010s. She wins an Oscar for Les Mis. Great performance. She's in The Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, absolutely.
What year was Les Mis, sorry?
2013.
Right, okay.
2012, 2013. She does One Day. And then we get... After Interstellar, we get The Intern, which I've heard is actually not as bad as it looks at all. I've heard quite good things about it. She plays a main character in Alice Through the Looking Glass, the belated sequel to the Alice in Wonderland films. And then she did that movie Colossal, which you gave me, and I think you saw it, you recommended it to me. Colossal, where she's linked to a kaiju in Korea or Japan.
Oh my God, I have seen this film.
Yeah, which she's like, she realizes, so she plays a woman in like...
Gone from my memory.
Right, she plays a woman in the Midwest who's had some trauma in her past. She goes back to her hometown, and when she goes to the childhood playground of her town, she becomes or connects with a giant kaiju somewhere in Asia, and she like touches her head, and Dan Stevens is in it, and Jason Sudeikis is in it, but also quite a nasty Jason Sudeikis. A really bizarre film that's not amazing, but it's also like, I'm glad it exists because it's so weird.
Yeah.
She did that. Then she did Ocean's 8, flop. Huge flop.
Yeah.
She did that movie Serenity with Matthew McConaughey, which was meant to be terrible.
Really?
Then she did The Hustle with Rebel Wilson, flop. She was in...
lot of forgotten films in there.
She was in Dark Waters, which is a film that I really like, but very much a supporting character in that, of the anxious housewife to the legal husband. Then she's in... she's in a film here. Oh, yeah, The Last Thing He Wanted, which was based off a Joan Didion novel, which has got 4.4 on IMDb, and we don't really rate IMDb, but 4.4, that's a no-watcher.
That's not out of 5.
Then she was in The Witches. Do you remember they did a remake of the Roald Dahl movie, but came out in the pandemic, so went straight to Disney+. Then she, oh my God, yeah, this is terrible. Anne, what's happened? Then she did that movie Locked Down in 2020 with Chiwetel Ejiofor, which was directed by Doug Liman, a pandemic movie.
Yeah.
No one wants to watch that now. Then she was in We Crashed.
She was great in We
series,
Crashed. She was really, really good in that.
I've seen clips of
that. Show is really underrated, actually. It's really solid.
And then she was in Armageddon Time. She was pretty good in that.
Yes.
Armageddon Time, which we quite liked. And then she was in a movie last year called Eileen that no one saw. And then she was in Mother's Instinct, which you said was great. But upcoming, Anne. you need to bring it back.
You rewind sort of 12 years. She was really top star.
I like her.
And
I like her
now-
as an actor as well. When she works, sorry, she always works. When she's in a film that works,
And she's been busy.
well.
It's not like she's taken time off. She's been getting them out, even through pandemic.
But some of those, Anne, dear. Those are all the emails we have time for this week. Please continue to send them in. We obviously have loads to get through, but we'll try our best to read them out on the show when we can. As ever, email them in to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. I think we should end this show with a game. So, as ever, James, Pulp Kitchen ends.
With a game.
This week, we have the return of the sound game. James is in the hot seat this week, and I have some sounds prepped for him.
You varied your sound type.
Yes, I have. So the last time I did this, it was just chaos, just
all
screaming.
Nothing
I have.
serene, nothing quiet. Nothing...
There's more dialogue this week.
Okay, cool.
There's more dialogue, and as ever, I will play a clip from a movie to James, typically around 3 seconds long, some a bit longer, some a bit shorter. James has to then tell me what movie that clip came from.
Do they start easier and get harder, or are they just randomly
I think
assorted difficulty?
they're a bit of a random
Just a
assortment. A
random
chocolate
mix, okay.
box.
No warm up
variety.
then. Fine. Yeah.
You'll get the first one, I'm sure.
Okay.
I think you'll get most of these.
Okay. All right.
Okay, listen along at home. Please play along at home. I
Mm-hmm.
hope you enjoy this. But James, shall we play Guess the Movie from the Sound?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
Volume up. Good to go.
James,
Yeah.
guess the movie from the Sound. Oh, I thought you'd get this straight away.
No. Was there like a monster, a growl, or can I hear it again, please? It's like this is twinkle thing.
Because I think that's iconic. I thought that was, you'd instantly get that.
Twinkly thing. I do not have this.
I'll give it to you one more
One
time.
more time. No, I don't have it.
It's the beginning of a film.
Sounds like the beginning of a film.
That is the opening frames of the movie Blade Runner.
It's the
It's the twinkle. It's the
the
exhaust
gas, the
fumes
exhaust.
across the cityscape. You see it through the eye. You know the
Yes,
iris of the eye,
with
and
the
I've
fire.
always that
yes.
that strum, that little twinkle of the.
Blade Runner. I've seen twice, but not for a very long time.
I apologize then. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I thought you
No, it's
were
fine.
more familiar, but
No, yeah, I totally picture it. The coming over Los Angeles. Yeah.
that's why I thought it was iconic.
Great moment.
I have a theory.
That's
that-
harder than you think, I think.
Oh, my mistake. This is
Yeah.
the thing. When you're prepping them, because you know what it is,
Yeah.
I think we can often fall into the trap of thinking it's more easier than it
That
is.
twinkle there was something quite video gamey about it.
Yes.
Like getting an item, getting a coin. That's immediately what came to my mind.
I have no evidence for this, but that opening reminds me, if anyone knows, the opening track on David Bowie's 1973 album, or 1972 album, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spies from Mars, the opening song, 5 Years, that guitar strum sounds a lot like that bit. I'm like, so there's a science fiction topic of Ziggy Stardust. I like to think there's an overlay there.
nice,
but
nice,
moving
nice.
on now,
Sound
are you
too.
ready for your next sound?
Yes.
Guess the movie from the Sound.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
Oh, again, I'm certain you've seen this film, but it's not a film that I think we've talked about very much.
Big, huge. It's an old film from
Yeah.
the 1980s, 70s, 90s.
Again, this is iconic as well.
Big mistake. Big, huge. One more time, please.
If you listen carefully, there is a clue. If you listen to the background,
Yeah.
it'll tell you what the
This
film
like,
is
thank you.
in a very literal sense.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
Slightly foreign accent there.
No,
No.
completely American.
Big.
I think people at home, if they
It's
know
not
this,
like
is
as
screaming.
good as it gets.
Warmer,
Is it Helen Hunt? Is
colder.
it Jack Nicholson?
No. Does that sound like Jack to you? That's Ronald Reagan. I don't know why I did that. Right, one more time.
One more time.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
Big mistake. Big, huge. Is it a Nora Ephron film?
Oh, you're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. You're in the territory. You're in the genre. You're in the right genre.
It's not Harry Met Sally.
No.
It's not Nora Ephron. Big mistake. Big, huge. Is it at like a canteen or a restaurant? The scene.
But it's in a customer service environment.
Big mistake. Big, huge.
Okay, I'm
No,
gonna.
go on.
Shall I tell you what it is?
Give me a clue. Give me one more clue.
This main character has walked into this customer service environment. She's asked to speak to the manager or the server. She asks them a question, and then she says, "Yeah." I thought.
Big mistake. Big, huge.
And
No,
the
I
song
don't
you hear
know.
in the background
Yeah.
is the title of the film.
It's like 2 seconds. No, go on. What is it?
She walks into the store and she says, "You work on commission, right?" "Yeah. I was in here yesterday and you wouldn't serve me."
Oh, Pretty Woman. Oh,
And the music you hear in the background is the song "Pretty Woman" by Roy
I was
Orbison.
close, yeah.
Yeah, but you see you're
Nice.
getting there. But anyway,
Oh, I can totally. Why did she sound slightly? I don't know,
don't
slightly
know.
European there, Julia Roberts.
you work on commission, right? Big mistake. Huge.
Big, huge, and she's like waving her fingers. Yeah.
She's carrying the bags. She's
Yeah,
in the white
yeah,
dress.
yeah, yeah.
But basically, I thought if I put the "you work on commission," you'd get it right away. So I
Right,
wanted to
okay,
do
yeah,
a
yeah.
very iconic line in a very famous movie, but just a snippet.
Nice.
Okay. Next up, we have. Are you ready for your next sound?
Yeah.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Just how dangerous is he?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
I think compared to what we might play. How dangerous is he? It's not Jaws.
No. Much more recent. Well, relatively, compared to Jaws. One more time.
Yeah.
Just how dangerous is he?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
American, Southern American.
Yes.
How dangerous is he? 2010s.
Just before.
Noughties.
One more time.
Yeah.
Just how dangerous is he?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
Is it No Country for Old Men?
It is No Country for Old Men. Well done. It is the scene in which Woody Harrelson enters the movie.
Yeah.
And he sits down. Woody Harrelson also plays a fixer. And he sat across from him and they're talking about Anton Chigurh, which is
Yes.
Javier Bardem's character.
That distinctive, like, cheeky American talking, I think, did it for me. Yeah.
And it's the what compared to what.
Yeah.
One more time.
Just how dangerous is he?
Compared to what? The bubonic plague?
Yeah. Compared to what?
It's a good line as well. It's a
In
funny line.
America, the
Compared to
W's get a
Yeah.
they get a little what
Compared
of
to
breath.
what, the bubonic plague.
Where do you get off?
And the other actor is Stephen Root, who's the guy who was the red stapler in
Have you
Office
seen
Space.
Hot Rod?
No, I
And he's
haven't
like,
actually.
okay, my safety word is whiskey. And they're like, why are you saying it like that? Saying like what? All of it. Saying what weird? Where do you get off?
Are you ready for your next sound?
Yes, ready for my next sound.
Well done on that one. Can you guess the movie from the sound?
Well, I think you should be sorry, for Christ's sake. A family member dies, and you insult me. What the hell is the matter with you, anyway?
I was chuckling to that one. I like that one.
It almost sounds like Elvis. He sounds a bit like, well, you're just a...
Well, hold on a moment. It's not Elvis. Again?
Yeah, one more time.
Well, I think you should be sorry, for Christ's sake. A family member dies, and you insult me. What the hell is the matter with you, anyway?
It sounds like Brando and Elvis. But I know it isn't. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I'll give you a little hint.
It's
there.
a comedy.
It's a comedy. And that voice is being put on.
Yeah. It's not Jim Carrey, is it?
No.
No. One more time, please. It's not Tom Hanks.
No. One more time.
Well, I think you should be sorry, for Christ's sake. A family member dies, and you insult me. What the hell is the matter with you, anyway?
Oh, this is so close to me.
You've definitely seen it. Very famous film. Again, an iconic film. This is a conversation over the phone. Give up?
Yeah, I give up.
That is the scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Oh.
where Principal Rooney is on the phone
only
with
seen it
Cameron.
once.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, fair enough, though. I can picture it now.
It's Cameron. It's the scene where Ferris Bueller is saying that I think I know it's where he's trying to get the girlfriend out of school. I
can picture the
They've said
scene
the family
now.
member. They said her grandma's died, and he thinks it's Ferris Bueller winding him up.
Nice.
So he has this phone call, and the principal's all like, "Hey, listen to me, jackass. If you want to do this." And Cameron's pretending to be the grandfather, and then Ferris Bueller rings the office. So the secretary's laughing, thinking, "Oh, great, the principal's giving him
great,
hell."
nice.
So she goes to the phone. She says, "Principal Rooney's office." She's like, "Yeah, it's Ferris Bueller. Can I speak to the principal?" And he's like, "Oh my god, and Ferris Bueller's online too." And then you get.
Well, I think you should be sorry, for Christ's sake. A family member dies, and you insult me. What the hell is the matter with you?
That's,
anyway?
I stand by Elvis and Brando.
That is Alan Ruck, of course, from Succession.
No,
Cameron
amazing,
there.
nice. Yeah, of course.
Okay, well done, Joe.
Lovely.
Well, not well done,
No, I
but
didn't get it,
you
but
didn't
yeah.
get it. But like, good try, good effort, good
stuff.
sport. Are you ready for your next? Are you ready for your next sound?
Ready.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Kubrick?
Nope. But I can see why you said that. A film you like, a film you've
I
seen.
know, I really can recognise it.
One more time.
I really know this. Oh, it really sounds like Kubrick stuff, but it's not.
Think of think of the tone of it. Think of what that evokes. Come on, what genre could that be?
Is it horror?
Yes.
It's not It Follows.
It is. It
It
follows.
is It Follows.
It is. It follows. It's one of my favourite. The music in that is very good. In It Follows, and this is a particular moment when it's to do with. I think
very
she's
John
passed it
Carpenter,
on
isn't
to another guy in her year, and then she's looking at him
can't
across
wait for the sequel to It
canteen,
Follows.
and you get.
Love it. Brilliant. Which is a similar sound if Michael Myers was just to come into the corner.
Yeah,
Of the
oh, yeah,
frame.
yeah.
It's totally borrowed from that.
Are you ready for your
Fantastic.
last few
Yes,
sounds?
love it.
Okay. Next sound. Guess the movie. From.
Sorry, you know why that was hard? Because it is obviously a film I like and I've seen, but it is evoking in that score so many other things
Yes.
that are like 20, 30 years older than it.
Yeah.
So that's why that's tricky. But yeah, love that.
Next sound.
Great game. It's just a great game.
Guess the movie from the sound. How are you guys doing at home? Enjoying it? I hope so.
Yeah.
Guess the movie from the sound.
You sure can, sweetheart. Johnny Red Neat, okay? Do it. Do it.
That is, of course, from Starsky and Hutch.
Yes.
When they go to the bar dressed up as other bikers and they get exposed.
No,
for who
it's
they
not
are.
bikers. It's the they go to the bat mitzvah, don't they? And it's he's dressed as a businessman and Owen Wilson is a cowboy.
Sorry, it's not that
it's
scene.
separate scene.
So I go in the bikers like, hey guys, you know what's really cool? Being true to yourself. And he's like adjusting his moustache. Yeah, and he's got in that scene, he's got the big thing, the
Yeah,
sideburns.
yeah.
Got it, go, do it.
So one more time.
You sure can, sweetheart. Johnny Red Neat, okay? Do it. Do it.
So I think that film's really underrated.
This
I've
is-
not
yeah.
seen it in such a long time, but I have really fond memories of the jokes in that movie, and the cast is fantastic.
This is exactly why I included it, because I knew you'd get it.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that movie's underrated. I remember watching that a few times when I was younger and really enjoying it. And I know several people who quote that scene. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
do it.
that's Starsky and Hutch.
We do
That's
do
an
it a
underrated
lot,
movie.
yeah.
Listener of the show, friend of the show, Steve from Florida, he does Bacardi and Coke. Do it.
Do it.
And it's like, it's a very brief moment
Kind of
an
forgotten
underrated
remake of
yeah.
a TV show, and you got Peake Stiller and Owen Wilson,
Yes.
wonderfully contrasted in like all the comedy things. Vince Vaughn,
Of course.
it's a yacht. It's a yacht.
And Snoop
Snoop Dogg.
Hug you back. By the way,
Hey, yo, I lay it out for y'all to play it out.
I'll talk about this at some point in the coming weeks, but I rewatched Challenges at the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's a moment when I was watching Challenges, and it's the scene where early on when it's 2006, and it's Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor staring at Zendaya on the dance floor. And I just suddenly had this vision. I was like, oh my God, if this was made 20 years ago, that would be Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
yeah, totally.
Like, they're the challengers. Because Mike Feist has got
Listen,
the blonde
you can
mop.
beat me at tennis. Rubbish. Can't do it.
You know, she's Tashi Duncan. She's the best tennis player out there, man. Okay, because he's got the blonde mop.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I just thought that would be it.
And
Anyway.
I really love in Starsky and Hutch that Snoop Dogg's this gangster, this really beautifully dressed like pimp gangster, and he has these like brutes behind him, and one of them is like really smart. And every time someone brings up something, it's like, yeah, the lizard will dispose of its tail as a defense mechanism. And every time he just comes in with these really amazing facts. So funny. And you know the scene when they think the cocaine isn't cocaine, it's sweetener, and then Ben Stiller ends up taking a whole load, and he goes on this night out and gets really
I can't-
Larry,
so
and
I-
Owen Wilson is like, that is pure cocaine. That was kind of Woody Harrelson there.
No, I don't remember. But this is another reason why
Do a
I need to
rewatch.
rewatch that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, are you ready? I think I've got two more for you.
Yes.
You ready? Oh no, I believe this. Okay, I've got.
How many have we done? 5?
We've done 6. This is your last one,
Yeah.
and then there is a bonus one which I'm not expecting you to get, but I
Fine.
wanted to include. For
I love
a
it
reason
though.
I'll explain.
Particular anyway.
James, are you ready for your next sound?
Yes.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Hey, Ma, you want uppers?
Hey, what you want up? It's not Adam Sandler's voice, is
No.
it? One more time.
Hey, Ma, you want uppers?
Is that the sound of straw? Someone sucking
No,
through a straw.
it's It's the sound of someone grinding their teeth.
Oh, you want uppers?
One more time.
One more time.
Hey, Ma, you want uppers?
In what film
voice is
would
that?
a son ask their mother if they were on drugs?
Is it from the 80s?
No.
90s?
No.
Noughties?
Yep. One more time.
One more time.
Hey, Ma, you want uppers?
He's saying you want uppers.
You on uppers?
Are you on uppers?
Yeah. You on uppers?
You on uppers? Ma, you on uppers?
He's hearing the sound of her grinding her teeth. And he's thinking,
She old, the mother.
yes, relatively. It's his mother, and he is a 20-ish man.
No, go on.
That is the sound of Requiem for a Dream, in which Jared Leto asks his mother, played by Ellen Burstyn,
Like Leto.
if she is on drugs, because of course she's on diet pills, which is basically speed, and she's grinding her teeth. And of course, him as a drug user immediately
wouldn't have got
recognizes the fact that she's grinding her teeth. He can immediately hear it, and the sound isolates the grinding of her teeth to like.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that, but I can see it. Fair. Nice. Niche.
Great movie, horrible,
yeah,
but
not a one you want to flick on.
Well, the thing is, I've watched it like 3 times,
Yeah.
and I think I enjoy the dark descent into hell, the thrill ride that gives me.
You want a nice little like shower and
Oh.
a cup of nice tea when you're done.
Right, so those were the main sounds this week. James, you got 2.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would like to finish with a sound that look, I'm not expecting you to get.
Yeah.
It's super niche, but when I was doing my favorite, not my favorite, when I was doing sounds to include this game, I was reminded there is a sound bite from a movie that is so random and just like such a complete non sequitur.
You're just playing
that when
this for yourself.
That when we watched it at uni, it ended up being like a quote that we would just bounce around the house. And clearly it's resonated with other people because this exists as an individual clip on YouTube of about 10 seconds.
Okay.
I wonder if anyone at home can get this.
What are you doing? I'm fixing a divot. Oh. He's fixing a divot!
He's fixing a divot!
It's such a you thing to just keep stored in your brain forever.
One more time.
What are you doing? I'm fixing a divot. Oh. He's fixing a divot!
No, I don't have it though. What is it?
That is Space Jam. That is the scene where Wayne
Seen it
Knight
once.
is digging a hole in the golf course because obviously Michael Jordan gets sucked through the hole in the golf course, right?
yeah.
Wayne Knight's digging at it to see if he can get it back, and this guy, this just random member of the golf club, just comes up to him and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm fixing a divot." Oh, he's fixing a divot.
Because everyone was wondering.
And then just for the rest of the time at uni in our house, we would just be like, "He's fixing a divot."
Love it. Super niche.
Super niche.
Love it.
Ridiculous. Well done. And thank you for playing along at home for that
Great.
for that game.
Love that.
Of Guess the sound from the movie. That's
Movie
the
from
end.
the sound.
Yes, but they got the point. James, send us out.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to Pulp Kitchen. We really appreciate you spending your time with us. Don't forget, we post new episodes of Pulp Kitchen every single Wednesday.
Again, thank you for joining us. If you're a new listener, if you're a regular listener, we really, really appreciate it. Please do continue to follow us on social media and like our stuff we put out. We got lots of new clips out there from lots of film bites that people are really reacting to.
Fun junkets happening this week.
Fun junkets,
New film bites, fun
events.
guests, things you won't start, clips from this show, but also stuff you won't get from the show. So make sure you follow it, updates, take part in our sort of our polls and our things where we
questions.
ask you questions to help us formulate the show.
Double tap the like button, give us a thumbs up. If you're listening to this on Spotify, make sure you're subscribed, obviously, and then give us a 5-star rating. We really appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, obviously.
friends. Tell your friends.
Check us on Letterboxd. Well, me as an ambassador for the show, we're on Letterboxd, sometimes post that. Just give us some love. We really appreciate it. And otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.